Good morning, Cornerstone Group. My name is Michael Hall. I'm a Regional Marketing Director coming to you live out of our Indianapolis office this morning. So good morning, everybody. Hey, I get the rare pleasure of hosting this call today with National Manager Ali Collins. And before we dive into this, I want to celebrate our activity like we always do. So top 25 on the leaderboard for the week. Here we go. Coming in number 25, we've got none other than National Manager Jamie Trent coming in with one light protected $5,019. Way to go, Jamie. Check this out, guys. Everybody on the leaderboard this week is over $5,000. The top 25 are all over $5,000. That's absolutely incredible. Number 24 coming in, we got Louis Grignano, 3 lives protected, $5,243. Way to go, Lou. Next, we got Chuck Poole coming in with one life protected, $5,248. Way to go, Chuck. Miss Lisa Kirch, she was our guest last week. Way to go, Lisa. Great job last week. 6 lives protected, $5,937. Great job, Lisa. Coming in next, we got Mr. Regional Manager Maxwell Akinsinwa coming in with 5 lives protected, $5,984. Way to go, Maxwell. Next, we've got brand new sales manager, Matthew Pertusit, coming in with 3 lives protected, $6,850. Way to go, Matt. Next, we got district manager Mike Treese coming in 3 lives protected, $7,001. Way to go, Mike. Coming in next, we got Mr. Mark Johnay, 6 lives protected, $7,202. Way to go, Mark. Brian Mansdorfer, we call him Jersey. Happy late birthday to you, Jersey. Coming in with 6 lives protected for the week, $7,419. Next, we got senior sales manager, Mr. Joe Skelly, coming on with 6 lives protected, $7,419. Way to go, Joe. Mr. Sales Manager Josh Kyler. Josh was on our team call on Friday and absolutely crushed it. 5 lives protected, $8,677. Way to go, Josh. Senior Sales Manager Miss Kadeen Newman coming up next. 9 lives protected, $8,930. Way to go, Kadeen. That is awesome. All right, next we got her upline regional manager, Claudia Matthew, 6 lives protected, $9,700. Incredible job, Claudia. Mr. Kenny Letts, 3 lives protected, $10,140. Way to go, Kenny. Mr. District Manager, look at all these leaders leading from the front. Way to go, guys. District Managers, Kevin Hopkins, coming up next with 6 lives protected, $11,480. Way to go, Kevin. That's awesome, man. Top 10, guys. The top 11 are all over $11,000 for the week. Coming in number 10, Senior Sales Manager Tyler Bosch, 3 lives protected, $11,614. That's incredible, Tyler. Way to go. Number 9, we got Mr. Regional Manager Brett Grossman coming up with 1 life protected, $11,999. Way to go, Brett. Number 9, guys, National Manager Daniel McCray, 5 lives protected, $12,914. I got to give Daniel a shout out for a second. Last time I looked, Daniel was number 4 in the entire freaking company this month on submitted business. Incredible job, Daniel. Way to go out there and lead your team from the front throughout this summer blitz, man. Proud of you. You've been kicking some butt and taking some names, man, and we're paying attention. So incredible job. Way to lead. Number 7, we got Sales Manager Barry Tuzo coming up with 4 lives protected. Count them, $13,263. Way to go, Barry. Number 6, brand new, just promoted this month, District Manager Kyle Van Loo, 11 applications, $13,937. Way to go, Kyle, and congratulations on your promotion. That's incredible. Coming up next, we got number 5 on the leaderboard for the week. District Manager Johnny Roberts coming in with 12 lives protected. Guys, check out the top 5. This is incredible. I remember when we first came to Equus, and the top people in the top 10 were doing like $5,000 to $8,000, maybe occasional $10,000. Check out the top 5 on the leaderboard for this month. Coming in number 5, District Manager Johnny Roberts, 12 lives protected, $20,947. $20,000 gets you number 5, not in the company, in the Cornerstone group. That's incredible. Way to go, Johnny. Coming in number 4 for the week, we've got District Manager Doug Wright coming in with 18 lives protected, $23,121. That's absolutely incredible. Coming in number 3 for the week. Number 3 from the week. This guy's been on fire, leading his team from the front as well. Regional Manager Carlos Bastardo, 5 lives protected for the week, $25,870. Incredible job, Carlos. Look, guys, we've got a first-time writer in the top 25 for the week. Not only is he a first-time writer, but he happens to be number 2 out of the entire hierarchy, and that is Jeffrey Breed, 8 lives protected, $27,442. Jeff, I don't know where you're coming from, man, but heck of a splash. Way to get going. Great start. And there can only be one number 1 for this week, and that is Adam Anderson. Adam Anderson takes the number 1 spot, and that is 3 lives protected, $28,633. Incredible job. Let's see here. That gives us a total of 304 applications. We had a total of 97 producers go out there and protect a family last week, with a total of 304 applications for $438,200 plus dollars. Mike, guys, that was just the top 25, and I'm exhausted. Imagine if we read off all 97 names. Congratulations to each and every one of you guys that went out there and that protected a family this last week. A couple of comments that I want to make here. First of all, you heard me just say this when we were reading off the leaderboard, but I want to give a shout out to both Matthew Pertusit and to Kyle Van Loo. They were the only 2 promotions in all of Cornerstone to a position like sales manager or district manager last month, which, as we know, are now 1-month qualifications. So congratulations to both of you guys. Guys, we've got a week, and what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We've got 8 business days left of the month, right? 8 business days left of the month. You can see, oh, look, it's on my other side, right? It's kind of funny. The camera's backwards. Behind me here, I've got our new promotion, our new Promote Yourself. Look at where sales manager is right there, and look at where district manager is. I know they're kind of hard to see on the screen, but they're both 1-month qualifications. How close are you to being able to solidify your next promotion to sales manager or the district manager before the end of July, right? We got 8 business days left. We got a week and a half left for you to put your head down and go grind and run after it. Also, we've got 42 days left of our summer blitz. 42 days left of our summer blitz. What are you going to do to maximize these last 42 days? So if we had 90 to start, right, we got 48 that are gone. We've got 42 that are left. Today's the 48th day. We got 42 that are left. It doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you finish. And I'm telling you, the incredible opportunity that we've got through this summer, guys, what comes up next, what comes up after our 90-day, after our summer blitz is our fall months. We know how incredible the fall months can be, right? The fall months are typically when we earn the majority of our income. the fall months are typically when we have our most momentum. It's typically the greatest sales season and the greatest season of hiring because people were getting and I hate to even mention the word, right? I mean, it's the weather is so beautiful out there, but we're getting closer to this thing called winter. And with winter comes this thing called Christmas. And when we get in that season of that time, people become more friendly and they become more giving. And they're more open to doing things like a gift of love like this for their family. And they're more open to other ways of making money. And they're looking for an opportunity to go out there so they don't have to put Christmas on a credit card again this year. And so we're going to be perfectly positioned coming out of this summer blitz to run with the momentum that we've created into the fall months so that we can finish 2021. I almost screwed up there. So that we can finish 2021 with a bang, and we cannot limp into 2022, but we can run into 2022 with full steam ahead and full momentum. And next year, we could have a life-changing year for everybody in this Cornerstone group right here. But it doesn't matter what your desire level is without action. And I'm so excited for today's call because we don't always have this opportunity. And today I get the rare opportunity for me to interview and chat with my good buddy, National Manager Ollie Collins. So, Ollie, good morning to you. It's still morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you, buddy?
Man, I am great. How is the weather up there in Michigan?
You know what? It is about like it is in Indy and, kind of easing into summer. We're not getting blistered hot yet, but a little too much rain and grass is growing a little too much, but it's all good. Hey, I want to give a shout out to the leaderboard, especially that top group of 5-6 people, the success they had over 20,000. It's really interesting. Johnny Roberts, one of the elite producers on Cornerstone, he said it yesterday on a team call that we did. And he says, when people send in a lead, whether it's an instant internet lead or whether it's a mortgage protection lead or final expense lead, what they're basically saying is they don't have it all together. Like they just don't have it all together. They don't have it all figured out. So even when you see that $500,000 mortgage or that $1 million mortgage on occasion, there's a reason that person filled it out. Just to share a couple of real quick examples of that, the number one guy on the leaderboard today, Adam Anderson, with Adam's client, that was a lead that he went and ran, and it was a huge mortgage on that house. Well, this lady, come to find out, was worth over $30 million and owns like 900 properties. And she was answering on one of her rental properties, a mailer that came in and wanted to see what it was all about. And lo and behold, this lady doesn't have, her retirement. She's got all that money, but she needed to figure out some things to do with this money, and Adam, along with his upline's help, Andrew Pappas, were able to help her, figure out what to do. Tyler Bosch ran an appointment, about maybe a little less than a month ago, and he ended up closing a $450,000 annuity with the help of his upline, his dad, the last couple of days. From a guy that's worth a ton of money, and he's got even more money than that available, but he doesn't have it all together. And that's why he filled out a lead and sent it in. Johnny Roberts met with the guy, who is a former mayor of one of the largest cities in the state of Michigan. He very accomplished, him and his wife, but when they sat down to look at their protection, their life insurance, it was abysmal what they had, and so now not only was Johnny able to help them with that, but now they're looking at, some things to do with other monies that they have. So don't underestimate the power of these leads, and I tell you, not all of those guys were working A leads. Johnny did over 20,000 last week, and I think only 5 or 6 of his appointments were off of A leads. The rest of them came off of incomplete internet or IPL leads, incomplete phone leads, those $3 ones. And I mean, so there's gold there. You just got to be willing to do the work to sift through it and find it. So shout out to all those guys, and shout out to the people that are following the ecosystem and had an amazing week last week, man. I really believe that our top 25 needs to look like that every week. There's so much talent on this team that at any week it could be a different 5 people in the top 5 and still carrying the Cornerstone banner to create the kind of volume that we're able to create here. So keep it up, Cornerstone, because you are lighting the world of Equus on fire with your activity, with your results, with your dedication. And the more and more I see people committed to their calendar, committed to filling all those spots, committed to making those extra dials, committed to getting on the dial session, the more I see people willing to do that, the more I see them having those breakthroughs like Kyle Van Loo's been having, and Matt Pertussis with his promotion. So great job, Cornerstone, and keep it up, man. Keep it up.
Just to echo what you're saying here, Ali, we actually had, and I didn't mention this, we had 4 first-time writers in Cornerstone this week. Let's give them a shout out. Aaron Smith, 2 lives protected, $1,232. We had Nicholas Bradshaw write 3 applications, $2,555. And James Caprito just edged out of the leaderboard today, number 26, 1 life protected, $5,000. You just made a comment, Ali, about our clients not having it all figured out, and I'm thinking, isn't that the story with the agents? I mean, I'm thinking back to when I got started in this business, and I was the furthest thing from having it all figured out. And no one, you've had a relationship with John much longer than I have. And Equus and Cornerstone, they know who Ali Collins is. They know they know the Ali Collins now, but I don't know that they know what it looked like when you started here, and what the finances look like, and what the situation looked like. And, for me, I barely got through high school. I just lost my job in the fire department. I was frustrated. I was terrified because I knew I didn't go to college. I knew I wasn't lined up to go knock it down with a high-paying job. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And this was really a lifeline for me. It was a lifeline that changed everything about my future and the trajectory of the way that we're moving. And when you mentioned, look, our client, we're dealing with people who don't have it all figured out. I mean, that's what I see Equus being for me. What I see Equus being for me is that life draft that gives me a chance to figure it out, right? That Barry talks about all the time. He talks about how we're looking for people that just want a shot. That was me. I didn't know that I had what it took to make it, but I just wanted a shot, and I was terrified. And the only reason I've had the success that I've had is because I was so terrified of what would happen with my life if I didn't have success in this industry. So, but you come from a completely different background. You were having success in a career before you came here. So, Ali, why don't we get started with this? If you could maybe, because I kind of want to talk about your earlier days, if you could let us know a little bit about what was your background? How did you get connected with John? And what was it that you were doing before you got involved in insurance for a career?
What's interesting, Mike, is, somewhere, and I know where it was, but I'm going to say somewhere along the line, I had kind of a vision of what my life could be like, a dream of what I hoped it could become someday. And it was when I was in college. I was at Central Michigan University. I played football there. And I was in the dorms, had come home, about 2:00 in the morning. I'm sure it was, 1:00, 2:00. I'm sure it was not from the library. And I turned the TV on, and it was before infomercials were called infomercials. It was just this guy on TV talking about something. I didn't realize it was a paid advertisement. I'm up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, where, we actually ran a couple of wires from the back of our TV set. And it was before the days of cable in every room or satellite. And so we makeshifted our own satellite dish, so we we got a bowl that was shaped kind of like a parabolic disc, and we put a nail in the center of it and ran some wires to it, shimmied up a tree, and we had the best reception in the whole dorm. And so at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I came home probably with a bag of Burger King and threw on the TV set. And this guy came on, and he was talking about financial independence. And he said, you can never be financially free if you work for somebody else. He said, I don't care. He was talking about real estate, but he said, I don't care if you make $100,000 a year. And back then, 100,000 was even more impressive than it is now, back in the mid 80s. And he said, I don't care if you're making $100,000 a year. If somebody gives it to you, they can always take it away. And it was the first time in my life that it's like I had an epiphany. Like, it hit me like, oh my gosh. I mean, I always knew, go to high school, go to college, work hard, study hard, come out, get a degree and get a job, and you should be okay. But that was the first time it really dawned on me that somebody could take it away from me. And so at that point, I was always looking for something that could be mine, something that, that could provide security for me. I learned a lot about real estate and kind of quote unquote dabbled in real estate, but the old, no money down, use other people's money, and that didn't work real well, but I was young and I was just I was in my 20s. Went on, got a degree in sports medicine, then went and got a teaching degree. And I was always looking, and I was teaching down in North Carolina when I met John Kite, but I knew that I didn't want to have a job forever. I knew I had to have one short term, but I was always thinking, man, I could do so much more. I could do so much more. I was with my daughters, 2 of my daughters this morning, and I was taking them to a basketball camp. And it was about 8:45. And I'm going about 4 or 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. I'm going about 49, 50 in a 45, but no big deal. I mean, it was 4 lanes and not a ton of cars, but cars were flying by me. And I said to my daughters, I said, you see all those people that are flying by us? And they said, yeah. I said, do you know why they're going so fast? And they said, why? And I said, because it's almost 9 o'clock. And they've got jobs, and they got to hurry up and get to their job or they're going to get in trouble. Because another human being said, you see this money right here? I'll give you this money, but you have to do everything I tell you to do. And I said, Madeline, could you see Daddy having to listen to somebody like that to make money? And she laughed and she goes, no. I said, that's exactly right. And I knew I had to have a job. But I wanted to use that job as the way to pay my bills. It was never going to get me where I wanted in life. It was never going to get me my dreams. With those same 2 daughters in the car today, we live close to the airport in Detroit. And every time we drive by the airport, I always ask them this question. If I could take you over to the airport right now and you could jump on an airplane to go anywhere, where would you go? I asked Lila today, my 9-year-old, and she said, I'd go to France. And I said, why? She said, because my favorite saint was born in France. And I said, who is that? And she said, Saint Therese. And I said, and when we're there, we could go to the Eiffel Tower, and we could go to the Louvre. We could go see, Mona Lisa's painting. We could eat some good food. I said, we could go find her birthplace. It'd be so much fun. And I get them dreaming a little bit. I get them thinking about what's possible, because I don't ever want them to think that it's not possible. I heard today on the radio that Jeff Bezos, and I don't know if it happened successfully or not. It was supposed to happen at 9 o'clock this morning, but Jeff Bezos was launching his rocket up into space. It was unmanned. It had 4 people on it, an 18-year-old, an 82-year-old, Bezos and his brother, unpiloted. I said unmanned, unpiloted. It's an 11-minute flight. And it will be the first civilian unpiloted spacecraft. And they said he's had a dream for it for the last 21 years. His dream was to go to outer space. That's like, hey, little Susie, little Billy, you could be president. It's like, that's like a crazy dream, so to speak. And so is going to outer space. And if a guy like Jeff Bezos can have a vision and a dream to go to outer space and make it a reality, couldn't we pay off all of our debt and not be controlled by a dollar bill and be a blessing in other people's lives, not only, personally, but financially? Couldn't we make an impact and make a difference? At what point do you give up on those things? At what point do you think, it's not going to be good enough? That almost happened for me. I went to North Carolina, was teaching school, and that's when I met John. And I was teaching school, and we started in a network marketing business. And John started about a year before I did, but him and Kim and I developed a pretty close relationship, kind of like cross-line running buddies, kind of like, Mike Treese and Andrew Pappas, kind of like me and you, Mike, and became cross-line running buddies. And then in 2007, our lives went different directions. We both got out of that business. John got into the insurance world, and I had been working in corporate America and started to work my way up. And there was a point when I had 2 daughters in private school, and the 2 youngest ones weren't ready yet. And I looked at what I was making, and I was getting closer to 50 years of age. And I knew as I got closer to 50, nobody was going to pay me what I was making at that job. No one was going to pay me what I was making. I remember there was an opening at a position, and one of my old bosses in the wine company, who's a friend of mine, he was hiring somebody. And I heard about it like through the grapevine, like they had hired this other guy named Andy. And so he happened to be, walking through our office one day. He was headquartered out of Chicago, but he was in Detroit. And he's like, "Hey, Ollie." And he comes, I said, "Shut the door." And he comes into my office, and I said, "Dude, what are you doing?" He goes, "What?" I go, "If you needed somebody, why didn't you pick up the phone and call me?" He said, "Ollie, this is the description I gave, to the personnel director at your company." I said, "I'm looking for somebody who's not married, doesn't have any kids, has been working for, they're 25 to 32. I can work their guts out for 2 years covering 5 states. I'm going to pay them $50,000 salary and then give them some bonuses. So maybe they could make 75. And at the end of 2 years, they're either going to quit or become promotable." He goes, "Would you have done that?" I went, "Not a chance." He goes, "That's why we didn't offer to." And I realized that as I got older and was making more money, I was going to be locked in. I couldn't have gone anywhere else because nobody would give me a significant enough pay bump to make it worth my while. And why would they when they could hire 2 25-year-olds to do the same job? And so I started thinking, man, is this all there is? Is Kelly going to have to go get a job? Because we need another $30,000 a year. And if we don't get the other $30,000, then either Kelly's got to get a job or our kids got to get pulled out of private school. But with another 30,000, we could cover private school, and we could start a little nest egg retirement for Kelly and I, so that it wouldn't just be Social Security. And so that's when I looked at insurance, and I knew a couple of people that were doing insurance part-time, or they were doing it full-time. I was going to start part-time. And this is what I said to them. I said to both 2 guys were trying to recruit me really hard. And I said, when I get my license and I've started studying, and this is what Kelly and I did. It's like, okay, Ollie, Kelly and I were looking at the banking, and my bonus came in from work. So what we did is we ran our credit cards up all year long. And if we hit our bonus, I would get 25% of my salary in the form of a bonus. And one year that just got us over 100,000. And we take that money and we throw it at the credit cards to buy them down and buy us another year, and so Kelly said, "Let's do this. Let's pull $1,500 out of that bonus, and that can be your seed money to get your insurance business started. You can use that money to take your class, to buy leads, to do whatever you got to do to see if you can make a go of this and we can get something rolling." And so when I got my license, I called each one of those guys and I told them, I asked them what I said I was going to ask them, which is, send me a copy of your last 2 bank statements. I want to see your deposits. I don't want to see it from the carrier. I want to see your bank statement, and one of them was like, well, I hadn't been doing a whole lot. I got a few jobs on the side doing some construction stuff. And so I've been doing that. Well, if this thing is so awesome, why are you over here doing a construction job where you can make $1,500 or $2,000? And then the other guy said, well, I only have one full month in and I can show you. And the guy deposited over 10 grand. And I said, there you go. And I literally got in my car, drove from Michigan down to North Carolina near Fayetteville because I wanted to see how this guy got into a door. I knew I could do a presentation. I wasn't afraid to talk to people, but they were door knocking. And that was the most foreign thing in the world to me. And so I spent out of my money and my gas, my hotel bill. I drove down to North Carolina to watch a guy. We knocked on one door, got in, sold a policy, went to lunch, left lunch, knocked on another door, got in, sold a policy. And we spent more time at lunch than we did in those two houses. And I saw how he got in. I wasn't worried about the application. I wasn't worried about the presentation. I wasn't worried about overcoming objections. How are you getting into that freaking house? And I saw how to do it. And I went, oh, it's all she wrote. I went back to Michigan. I bought the only leads that there were in Michigan were 3 hours away from me. I was working a full-time job. But it was, I was with my full-time job. I was at home a third of the time, on the road a third of the time, in the office a third of the time. So for me to not be around on a Friday in the office was no big deal. They probably figured I was either at home working or, out at an account. And so I'd head up to Saginaw, Michigan, and I'd take these old final expense leads. And I think the newest one was like 2.5 years old. Everything was like 2.5 and 3 years old. And I started knocking on doors. I remember the first door I knocked on, Mike, and I got in. The people were rude to me. I left, and I went, oh, I see what it is. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Well, game on, because I'll outnumber you. And I like gritted my teeth and was like, here we go. And it was that first time, and it was my first door. It was like I gotta kind of set my jaw, like I'm getting ready to get punched. When you're getting ready to get punched, boxers aren't like talking right before they get punched. They set their jaw because they're going to get hit. And so I set my jaw and I said, here we go, game on, game freaking on. And I went out and started. I started part-time. Ordered up some leads. This was March. The leads didn't roll in until the good leads didn't roll in until May, June. Prior to that, and then so in June I took a week off. Went a week off from my job and just sold insurance and did about 3,500. I took a week off in July and did like 5,500. And then I took a week off in August. We were actually supposed to go to Disney and with our two girls, but some childcare arrangements fell through for the other two. And so we found ourselves at home. And so I told Kelly, hey, listen, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be insurance guy all week. Don't ask me to do anything. I'm gonna go be insurance guy for a week. I'm gonna see if I can really do this thing. And so I went out, and I remember, Monday I didn't have a sale. Tuesday I only had one sale, and she's like, "How's it going? How's it going?" And I said, I'm not counting my premium. I'm not looking. I've only sold one so far, but I'm not looking at it. I'm not worried about it. I'm only controlling what I can control, which is the activity, the number of doors I knock on, the number of people I talk to. It's the only thing I can control. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to put blinders on for a week and see what I can do. And at the end of the week, I had sold just under 12,000. And one of my biggest policies was to a husband and wife, Norm and Donna. And And about 4 months ago, Donna called me because Norm had passed away. And he was one of the first policies, not the first policy, but like in the big week. He was one of the big policies that I wrote, and it paid out and protected that family. And so I knew I could do it, but then I started to doubt myself. Doubt, that little voice started to creep in. It didn't matter that I did 3,500 one week, 5,500 another week, and then a month later did 12 grand in a week. In a week, I took vacation time to do that. That didn't matter. That little voice in my head still started to say, "You can't do this. You just got lucky." You just got lucky. And that little doubting voice, started to get really loud. And so I took the day off work on a Monday, and I went out, and the guy that I shared an office with, he knew what I was doing. And I called him about noon, 12:30, and he said, "How's it going?" And I said, "What are you doing?" And he was complaining about, Walgreens was supposed to take 5,000 cases of this wine, and now the regional managers are giving us pushback. So I got to call every Walgreens in the state of Michigan and force ship out 5 cases. I mean, so he's complaining about work stuff, and he's like, "How are you doing?" And I said, "I made $1,000 before lunch." He said, "You did?" And I went, "Yeah, I did." And he's like, "Oh my God." And I realized that it wasn't luck, that it was numbers, and that I wasn't great at this, but I was good enough that if I gave it my best, it could provide for my family. And that was 2014 part-time. And Kelly told me, Kelly, my wife, said, my hyper-conservative wife, after 15 years in corporate America, I left teaching, went to work in the wine business, and didn't realize there was so much money in wine. Went into the wine business and worked my way up from a sales rep to what they called a key account manager. So I called on the corporate wine buyers of, Costco and Whole Foods and, some of the other, larger regional chains here in Michigan. And it was a pretty prestigious position at our company. Out of the, 450 people at the company, 425 of them would have loved to have had my job. The other 25 either had a better position or they're smart enough to know, not to climb the ladder that high because your rear end gets exposed. And Kelly said to me, she said, "What's keeping you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, you can do it. I have faith in you. What's keeping you?" And I said, "Honey, they don't hand these positions out to just anybody. It's not like if I leave, I can just come back." And so I put my notice in. They hit the panic button at work because they couldn't believe I was quitting. We were in OND, and that's the busiest time of the year in the wine business. So in the position that I was in, you don't put your 2 weeks in. When you tell them you're gone, they get your phone, your badge, your computer. They show you the way out, and then they box up everything in your desk that's not yours, or that is yours, and they send it to you. And so when I put my notice in, I had to go out and buy a car because I knew that once I started a 1099 position, I wasn't going to be able to get a loan for 2 years. I had to make sure that our finances were squared away, I had to go out and buy a phone and get a cell phone plan because the company was paying for my cell phone. I had to get a laptop because my laptop was the company's laptop. So I had to do all of these things before I could give them my notice. And I put my notice, and I'm still driving that car today, by the way. And I need to get a new one, but it keeps me humble. 269,000 miles. And when I bought it, it had about 40,000 on it. And so they asked me to stay on until the end of the year. They promised that they'd pay me a bonus. They gave me a going away party. Mike, where I worked, I'd never been to a going away party, like a leaving party. I'd been to one retirement party, but they never threw he's leaving our company. Maybe they were celebrating that I was leaving. I don't know, but they gave me this big bottle of wine, and everybody signed it, real expensive bottle of wine, and everybody signed it. Everybody at the company that was anybody was there except for the owner of the company because he didn't associate with anybody. But the executive vice president pulled me aside and he said, hey, listen, if anything goes wrong, if they move the goalposts on you, which can happen in situations like this, I want to let you know you've always got a place back here if you want to come back. Now, he didn't say I might have been working the midnight shift, in the warehouse, filling cases. But he said, you always got a place back here if you want one, which was really nice. And in the middle of this going away party, it was actually on my birthday, late December, my phone rings, and I promise I'd not heard from this person in probably 5 years. So we're almost 2015. It was probably 2010, the last time I heard from him. And it was John Kite. I look at my phone, John Kite's calling me. And so I step outside, and he was just checking in to say hi. He had a mutual friend with him who wanted to say hi. And so we chatted for a few minutes, and I went back inside, and then John found out through the rumor mill or Facebook that I'd gotten in insurance, and we kind of talked and stayed in touch, and launched my career, and it got off to a little bit of a slow start, but just because I had hurt myself. But we muddled our way through a slow start, got things rolling hard in June, July, and August. Made 11 grand more than my best year ever in insurance. Every year has gotten better, dramatically better. My goal was, when I made as much money in 6 months as I made in a year, I would open up that bottle of wine and have a bunch of people together to drink it. Now, the thing is, I could have opened it a couple years ago. I probably make as much, just my salary there, I probably make as much money in probably 2 months, maybe a month and a half, but 2 months. I make as much money now as I did on a 12-year salary over there. One of my good friends still works there. And this person is the top paid in that group that I was in. She's the top paid person. And I know what she makes, and it's about a third. It's about a third of what I make now. And so this industry has been a blessing. Getting connected with Equus and Barry and John has really skyrocketed the growth of our business and our income, our team, our personal production. Everything has been amplified since coming on board with Equus in 2017. And when I came on board, I did my due diligence, and I know John, and I've got a history with John, and Kelly loves John and Kim just like I do, but John couldn't rush me. John couldn't rush me. I was 50 years old. I was looking to make a decision that was going to latch on to something that was going to be there, hopefully, and something I could ride out into the sunset. And so I was doing my due diligence. And so I made a special note of that. If John Kite could not rush me, what makes me think that I could rush anybody else? If they don't want to be rushed, I'm not going to rush them. If they need to do their due diligence, I want them to, because when they make a decision to come on board, they're not going to have any regrets, any second thoughts. They're going to take the resume off of ZipRecruiter. They're going to put their blinders on, and they're going to run. If I talk them into something, then the whole time they're going to be doing this and looking for something else. So, I know it's very long-winded. Hopefully there was an interesting nugget or two in that little story that made some sense.
I love that, and I want to go back. You said a lot there. I want to talk about some of what you said. Before this call, we had talked about how we were going to talk about dreaming and how important that is, and how that impacts what we do. And you were talking about when you first started the conversation today, you were talking about being in the car with the girls and talking to them, kind of doing some dream building with them, and kind of investing into their mindset on being an entrepreneur. Do you remember the age that you first started dreaming? That, like, as a kid, did you want to be like like a superhero or anything? Do you remember ever being something like that? And also, it's a two-part question. Did you have someone like you are to your girls that had kind of put that into your brain when you were younger and it let you know that there was another way outside of a job? I know that you talked about being in college and understanding the value or lack thereof of having a job and wanting to work for yourself. But before that, when you were growing up, was there any kind of mentor in your life that kind of pushed you that direction or encouraged your dreaming? So what age did you start dreaming, and was there someone that kind of encouraged that?
You know, I was always pretty good at athletics. You know, I was the kind of kid that always played. I could hang with kids that were 2 and 3 years older than me. Athletically, I was big as a young kid and strong and coordinated, and so for me, everything was sports. Everything was football. Everything was basketball. But mostly football at an early age, you know, I had visions of playing in college. No, don't know that I ever really thought past that. But I thought, man, I could play in college. And, you know, at that stage of your life, I think your vision, you know, you can only see so far, peak to peak sort of thing. And I think my peak was like college, like that's where I could see to. But when I was a sophomore in high school, a kid, actually a group of kids came to our school from neighboring schools. You know, some of the millages didn't pass in the other school districts, and so they were going to be canceling sports programs. And so some of the better athletes had come to our school, and I made friends with this guy who were still, you know, because of the, you know, the miracle of Facebook, we still get to associate today. This buddy of mine, his name was Jim, and his dad was a chiropractor. And excuse me, at a young age, when I was 15, 16, I had a really a bad low back and had a lot of back pain, and, you know, and it would kind of give out on me or seize up on me or spasm every once in a while. And I'd walk around crooked for a week, and, you know, then everything would ease up. And so I started going to a chiropractor. Now, it wasn't Jim's dad, it was somebody else. But then I got to hang around Jim and his family, and I got to see their lifestyle. I got to see their indoor pool and their indoor sauna and little indoor basketball court they had. You know, all the movies and the big screen TV and the game room. And I started seeing these things and going, man, what a cool way to live. What a cool way to live. And found out that his dad was a chiropractor. I'm like, oh my gosh, I go to a chiropractor, and I'm really interested in all that. And so I started thinking about being a chiropractor, you know, and and it's really funny because I was going through our lockbox the other day. I was looking for something, some documentation that I needed. I was actually just looking for a copy of my social security card because I had to send it, you know, to somebody for something. And I'm going through all this stuff, and I found this little not manila, but little white envelope. And it had, you know, like my old driver's licenses in there, Kelly's old driver's licenses, and just, you know, that my college ID card, just that kind of stuff. But in the back of it was a little index card. And I looked at it, and it was goals. And I forget the year right offhand, but it was goals. And it was goals that I made before I met Kelly, you know, and I'll come back to that gold card in a second. But I felt like being a chiropractor was going to give me the income and a lifestyle because I saw what Jim's dad had provided for their family. And so the chiropractor that I went to kind of started to mentor me and talk to me. And through my college years, the reason why I got a degree in sports medicine is because I planned on going to chiropractic school. As a matter of fact, I did. I enrolled in chiropractic school down in Georgia, and I went for a couple of months. And I mean, that's another story. But after being down there for just a little bit, I knew that there was other things I was supposed to do with my life. I wasn't supposed to be there. And I felt just this cloud and this weight on me while I was down there. And I just think it was, you know, the Holy Spirit just letting me know that I wasn't supposed to be there. And, but he was mentoring me, and he had told me, you'll make a good living as a chiropractor. He said, you'll make a couple $100,000 a year. He said, but here's the thing. He said, there's only so much time in the day, and there's only so many treatment rooms you can have in your office, and you have to spend so much time with each patient as you go from treatment room to treatment room. So ultimately, the amount of money you can make is capped. And so it kind of made me realize that outside of chiropractic, I was going to have to do something. And so that's kind of where that real estate thing came into play, because he invested into real estate. So I thought, hey, I'll become a chiropractor. That's how I'll make my seed money and do my S quadrant work and pay my bills. I'll invest in real estate. That's where I'm going to create my wealth. And the plan was always to go back to college or chiropractic school and teach. I always wanted to teach. I always wanted to make money, and I always wanted to help people. Even back when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, I wanted to make money. I remember when Andrew was little, and he and I had this little thing, and I would hold him because he was little Andrew, you know, and I'd go, "What's Uncle Ollie going to be?" And he'd go, "A millionaire, you know, and so I knew I always wanted to make money. I knew I always wanted to help people, and I knew I always wanted to teach. So fast forward to the other day when I pull out that little gold card, and I didn't even know Kelly then, but I had things written down on there about the kind of spouse that I wanted, and literally every single thing on this gold card I can check off now, except for one thing, and within the next 2 years, that thing's going to be checked off. And it's because of the vehicle that we have here at Equus. You know, it's my diligence, it's my grit, it's my not giving up on your dream. Man, do you know how close I came when I was working at the wine company? How close I came to saying, well, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. A car's just transportation to get you back and forth. A house is just a place for the roof over your head. It's no big deal. It's, and I started to settle. I started to think I wasn't going to find that thing to help me get my dreams and goals. And that entrepreneurial spirit wasn't dead inside me, but I didn't have a vehicle to make those things come true. And then I found insurance. And more importantly, I hitched my wagon to John and Barry and to Equus. And that's what's gotten us where we are. And that's what's going to take us the rest of the way. And so I never stopped dreaming. But man, I was starting to give up some hope that I was going to be able to find a vehicle that could get us there. And now we just pinch ourselves, when, and I told the story about when we got our first equity bonus, and Kelly literally started to cry. Because it was only 4 or 5 years ago that, I don't know how bad it could have gotten. I don't know how bad it's been in your world. We were probably not too far away from where most people are when things get bad. Living paycheck to paycheck, not ordering out pizza. I remember I just started in insurance, and I was going to coach my daughter's basketball team, and Kelly was the athletic director and said, "Hey, we don't have a basketball coach." I'm like, "Oh, how about that?" Because I coached high school basketball, I coached boys, and she said, "Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to have a basketball team for our 5th grade daughter because there's no coach." I'm like, "Oh well, maybe we can send her off to another." School to play or something. And then she says, "Hey, good news." I go, "What?" She goes, "There's going to be a basketball team." I go, "Really?" She said, "Yeah." I go, "Who's the coach?" She said, "You are." Alrighty then, Miss 80. And so we go to this meeting with this boys coach, and this boys coach who had coached the year before said, because Kelly said, "Wow, the boys got new uniforms last year, and we got to look at maybe getting some new uniforms for the girls." And he said, "Oh yeah, I paid for those uniforms." He said they were only $500. He said, "I can hook you up with the guy. They were only $500 for the uniforms for the team." And literally when we left that meeting, Kelly said, only $500. It must be nice. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. That he can just stroke a check for uniforms for $500 and it's no big deal. Guys, I promise you we could stroke a check for $500 for uniforms and not feel it today. But not 4 years ago. Not 4 years. It would have stung. It has stung. So I'm sorry, Mark. Hopefully it answered your question.
Yeah, and I got a few more questions for you, and I know we're coming up on our time here, so we may go a minute or two over. But, you know, and I don't remember where I read this or where I heard it, but it's been something that I've said consistently since I've been at Equus, and that is, and it was in a book, I guess, somewhere, and several years ago, I read that if you steal a dream from a man, see if you want what's left. I know that John talks about that quite a bit too. Mm-hmm. And you started talking about getting to that point of questioning, you know, is it worth it? Almost wanting to quit. And I mean, goodness gracious, Al, I mean, we don't have enough time for me to talk about all the times that I should have quit, that I wanted to quit, that it made sense for me to quit. You know, Andrew was texting with me while you were talking, and he said, ask him about the time that he broke his foot right after he quit his job. And so here's my next question for you. And one, I want to know what that, well, okay, so I've got a couple of questions. So we're going to start with one at a time. I've got 3 or 4 questions, so we'll try to move pretty quick with it. The first one would be, what would be that biggest obstacle through the journey, not even necessarily your insurance career, but just through the journey of life with this whole dreaming concept of you wanting to go create time and money for you and your family that you can enjoy that? What would have been that biggest obstacle or setback through your journey?
Self-image, not thinking that I was worthy. Coming from where I came from, you know, John says he grew up in, you know, Smithfield, North Carolina, population several. You know, I grew up in Flat Rock, Michigan, population several plus 5. I mean, it might have been a little bigger in Smithfield, but not much. Nobody in our city, you know, really did anything great. You know, probably the wealthiest person was the guy that owned the funeral home. You know, it's and so it was self-image. Nobody in my family had money. I watched my parents struggle raising 5 kids, you know, on one income. I watched my dad never go on any sort of unemployment, working 2 or 3 jobs to do what he could to keep the family afloat. We never went on a vacation until my junior year of high school, and we drove out to California and back. And prior to that, never went on a vacation. And so it was self-image. It was, can I really do it? Am I worthy? And the cool thing is, all I had to do was stop listening to that voice and just go to work. Just don't listen to that voice. Shoot, don't even believe you can do it and go work. And what happens is you don't go from 0 to, you know, $500,000. You go 0 to, oh my gosh, I made 100,000. Oh my gosh, I made 150. And what happens is you can see and believe from peak to peak. You know, you can't believe for an integrity deal, but can you believe for regional manager? Can you believe for equity bonus? And then suddenly that next step, that next level starts to crystallize for you. So self-image and believing that I was worthy. I knew I was a kid of a king. You know, I knew a lot of things. But it didn't shut up that inner voice in my head all the time. But over the years, and the more I inundate myself with positive and encouragement and uplifting and look at the next goal and don't be afraid to put in the work, you know, suddenly that little voice is like, well, we're just going to shut up because, you know, and we know it ain't going to work. You know, and it doesn't mean I don't have bad days. Doesn't mean I don't. I had a day yesterday. You ever have a bad day? I crammed it into 3 hours. And it was like everything I touched wanted a heck in a handbasket in 3 hours. I just came home and I was laughing. Kelly said, "What's going on?" I said, "Man, I've had a day, and I'm not going to tell you about it because it's almost comical, all the crazy little things that went wrong in a short period. And we just need to move on and be thankful and grateful, that we're so blessed and so loved, and on we went. And so, yeah, so that would be self-image and feeling like I'm worthy.
I think that we've got so much in common there with that. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I'm an introvert, and I got to see my dad serving people his entire life, helping people, putting them in a better position. But our family struggled, being the oldest of 5. And I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't have memories of getting new clothes and new shoes. And I wanted to be able to create a different lifestyle for my family while I'm out there helping people and serving them and putting them in a better position. I knew I always wanted to serve people. I wanted to do something to help others, but I didn't know how I could do that. What would you say, what is Ali Collins' dream? What is it that you're fighting for you and your family? What do you see, like tell me what that dream is for you?
So the dream when we started in insurance is still there, but now the view of what's possible as we achieve that, like what's next, is starting to get, clearer. Kind of like, when we hit 150,000, it became a little easier to see 200,000. And so the goal when we started was to get our kids through private school and to have a retirement for me and Kelly. When I look at that little goal card that I made way back when, there's not things on there. There's helping my family, helping my parents. There's, doing things for charity. And so now we're starting to see that the money that we make, the impact that we can make, we can pay for our kids' school. That's not a problem. We know that the retirement for Kelly and I is looking a whole heck of a lot better than it did 4 or 5 years ago. So those things we feel like aren't totally checked off yet, but we feel like we stay the course and those things are going to get taken care of. But now it's making a difference. I just had somebody reach out to me the other day and said, sent to me and 2 other guys that own businesses, and one's a financial planner. And he said, hey, my entrepreneur friends, he said, any of you want to sponsor a Christian music festival that we're trying to start up at our church? And my response was, cool, send some information over. Let me read up on it. And the other guys were like, well, we've already spent our budget for this year. And then the other one was, hey, revenue's down because of this, and this. I'm just not in the position to be able to do that. How blessed are we to be in an industry that during a pandemic has grown and flourished the way? So we see, helping, we see donating. Kelly made a statement to us to me the other day, like, if we're ever blessed enough, to have this kind of money, this is what I'd like to do, for our kids' school. This is what I'd like to do for this other charity. And so we're starting to really see how our money can be such a big impact outside of, what we do. But, but the short-term serendipities are amazing. I was just thinking about this, like, we went on a little family getaway, a little vacation, and on our way out of town, it was a Sunday morning, and we stopped by this amazing little bookstore with a live pianist. It was on a Sunday morning. The piano player's playing, and it's a gorgeous bookstore where you can have breakfast, and people are bringing in their dogs. I'm sure they were all service animals. It was just, and my daughters are just like, oh, like they're falling in love. Like, can we get breakfast? Can we buy books? And, one of my kids came over with like 5 books, and the thing was, it's like, we didn't have to look at the price of anything. It didn't care what breakfast cost. It didn't care what the books cost. Now, we didn't let her get 5 books just because, we're trying to teach her, you can't have everything you want. You can't be a glutton. Let's just take a couple, and but at the same time, what a great feeling that I never had to look at the receipt or worry about what something cost, and I could just be a blessing to my family. And now we're able to do that, to Kelly's parents to some degree. Been able to take them on a couple of trips with us. Been able to be a blessing to my mom, and help her through some things. And so it's just been, big picture is starting to get clear, but day in and day out, man, we don't overlook the blessings of, just being able to do some of the small things. And again, 4 years ago, the bank was trying to close on my house after I hurt my leg and couldn't go out and sell insurance. And my volume was so low that the bank's sending us letters, because we had fallen behind and had to borrow a couple thousand. I didn't even know it. Kelly went and borrowed some money off her mom and dad to get us through. They were probably just worried that we were going to have to move in with them if things didn't go well, but whatever their motivation, praise God, they had the money and they could help us out. I mean, that's how close things were 4 years ago, 5 years ago, from heading down the wrong path for our family. So,
man, so I got two last questions for you. Then we'll wrap up with that. And speaking of money, I remember when I got into this business, that's all I could think about. I just needed to make money. I had to find a way that I could go out there and control my activity and put money in the bank to be able to take care of my family. And I was blessed enough to earn my first equity bonus a year ago in July, a year ago this month. And, I remember getting that. And when I got that, I mean, Ali, this was literally 4 months worth of bring home income for me as a 10-year firefighter in Baltimore City, Maryland, in a bonus. And I remember thinking when I got into the insurance business, if I could just get to the point that I'm earning $10,000 a month, that's going to change my life forever. We've talked a little bit about the dream. You've shared a little bit about your struggle. You've been blessed enough to get this equity bonus since March. You've had 5 of them now. What is that? What difference has that made in the Collins household? So, for me, with this silly little thing called a business, we've been able to create a children's shelter. We've been able to do all these incredible things, right? You mentioned it before. Money. It's like, it's not about the stuff, but money's like oxygen, and you can't be a blessing to anybody if you don't have any. And so what has that meant for you and your family so far?
Yeah, food, clothing, and shelter. I remember from my philosophy class in college, they called it Maslow, the philosopher, is the hierarchy of needs. What do you need as a human? The first 3 things are food, clothing, and shelter. And for me, for so long, I was fighting for food, clothing, and shelter for me and my family. I couldn't think about cars or watches or helping anybody else out. I couldn't help myself out. During those times, people are like, you should see a financial planner. Why? I don't have anything for him to finance or manage. I mean, I could barely get by. But you said it, and you came through screaming loud, which is, you wanted to provide for your family. You felt that responsibility. That's when you got married. That's what you promised your bride is, I'll do everything I can to provide for the family. And she does more than her part too. I mean, but that's what you feel called to do. That's what Kyle Van Loo, taking care of his young family. Man, I saw a picture of him and his wife and his daughter at the zoo doing the feed the zebra or feed the giraffe experience.
Yeah.
Man, it warmed my heart, because I know that a lot of times when you go on those private experiences at the zoo, it costs a couple of bucks because we've done them before. And what a blessing. It just put a huge smile on my face that a guy can go from what he was making, 2-3 years ago, to, depositing 5 figures on a regular basis now every single month, and well on his way to tripling his income from last year. And so, those are the kind of things that inspire me, and looking at where we came from. And when we finally got to the end of the month, and there was money. It was like, are you sure all the bills paid? Let's double. Did we pay the tuition? Is everything paid? Honey, we can start this thing called a savings account because there's extra money at the end of the month. And so as we've been able to get the equity bonus, the nice thing about that is we've seen the savings account increase dramatically. We've been able to take a portion of that money and we've been able to put it back into our business in recruiting, leads, things like that, to help out our team as they grow. Again, a lot of that money, as a business owner, needs to be put back into your business to help you hit those next levels, to help your people hit those next levels. But my bonus for working a job and being underneath somebody's thumb and jumping through hoops and missing activities and games and being told what to do and when to do it, my bonus at the end of the year would maybe be about 15 grand is what I'd clear because it was taxed so heavily. And here, where I'm making 10 to 12 to 13,000 a month on an equity bonus. I mean, I'm making almost as much in 1 month as I would make all year. And so the equity bonus it's life changing. It really is. It really is. And, we've moved, we upgraded in houses. We needed to, still driving the same vehicles, keeps us a little humble. But we feel blessed that, the path that we're on and the impact that we're able to make. And right now it's in our kids' lives, and now that it's starting to leak out to our family and getting really closer to be a big impact on charities, on charities as we go forward. So. Yep.
Here's my last question, and we'll shut it down with this because we're 12 minutes over. You had mentioned that you think your biggest obstacle was your self-image. I feel like that is probably common with most people. I know that it was for me. I know that with my relationship and communication and conversations with Kyle, that was kind of his in the beginning as well. And I think it's probably one of the biggest things for most people. Going through your journey, understanding that you were a dreamer early on, understanding the struggle that you've been through and how many times that it's made sense to quit and to give up, how close you've come, and to see the success that you're tasting now with the equity bonus, the growth of the company, where you see your business heading. I remember thinking, crap, if I could just make $100,000 a year, my life is going to be forever changed. And knowing how my mind is expanded at each level that we've hit, kind of like you've talked about, we've got this incredible opportunity that Barry, Bill, and Rob have given us with this summer blitz. And there's so many people that are taking advantage of it, but there's still some people that aren't. And maybe they're paralyzed with the fear of that lack of self-image. Maybe they're terrified to go through that failure that you can't bypass it. You have to go through. The only way to success is through failure, right? It's through failure. You're not getting around it. What would be that last word that you would say to the brand new person, or maybe the person's been around a little bit and they're sitting on the sidelines, and we've got 42 days left of this summer blitz that's going to throw us into the third and fourth quarter for momentum that's going to set them, because it's not about the money they're going to make this year. It's about setting them up for the position that they're going to be in next year and beyond for them and their families. Knowing hindsight being 2020, what's your message to that new person?
Isn't it interesting? When you're little, you can do anything. You can grow up to be anything. People encourage you. You can be an astronaut. You can be a pilot. You can be, an athlete. You could be a superhero. I mean, Shoot, you could even be Thor. I mean, they like make things up that it's not physically possible. You could be it. You could be a unicorn, honey. You could have a unicorn, I mean, all of these things, but somewhere along the line, whether it be teachers or adults, somewhere they start to say, well, you can't do that, or you're not going to be able to do it. You can't be a pilot. Your vision isn't good enough. You can't do this. You're too tall. You're too short. You're too fat. You're too this. You're too that. You're not enough of this. You're not enough of that. And then we start to believe those limits that are placed on us. And it's not that my self-image was low. It's just maybe I didn't feel worthy. Like people would say, well, you could have this, like you could be a school teacher, but you couldn't be the CEO of a company. Like you could have this. So it's like, well, evidently I'm not worthy of that. I can't have that kind of car. I can't have that kind of lifestyle. Everybody around me of influence during my formative years have kind of pigeonholed me. So I don't feel worthy. In my little world, I had a great self-image, but if I wanted to break out of it, it was like, did I feel worthy? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, you are worthy. And, and somewhere along the line, it could have gotten too hard. It got hard a lot of times. I literally remember driving down the road in May. I had just gotten my brace off my knee. One of the first times I was out by myself driving and door knocking final expense leads. And my family's struggling. We hadn't caught up in our bills. I didn't have any momentum. It seemed like the winter doldrums hadn't wore off yet, and just get some spring momentum. And I literally was driving down the road like this, and tears were rolling down my face, and I'm punching my steering wheel because I was so mad. But it's like, I need this to work, because what else was I gonna do? Quit and do what? What was I going to do? What was going to get the food, clothing, and shelter and provide for my family the way I wanted? I wasn't talking Learjets and luau's in Hawaii. I wasn't talking fancy clothes or watches. I wanted to provide for my family and not struggle. I didn't want to be a failure as a provider for my family. I wanted to be truthful to the vows that I made, and I didn't want to quit. I couldn't quit on my wife. I couldn't quit on my kids. And that's what my dream was to provide for them and to take care of them. How could I quit? And do what? Go get a job making 50 or 60,000 a year? 100,000 wasn't doing it in corporate America. Who was going to pay a 50-year-old $100,000 right off the streets when they can hire two 25-year-olds and pay them 40 grand each, save 20 grand, and work them twice as hard? It wasn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you got a part-time job and you got an insurance license, what do you got a part-time job for? You got an insurance license. Get some leads, be tough, make some phone calls, do some door knocking, go help some families. You can make more money selling 1, 2, 3 policies a week extra than you can at that part-time job at the Piggly Wiggly or whatever it is you're doing part-time. Get your license. Almost said something I shouldn't have said, but get a license and get after it. So we're in the summer of write your own contract. You don't got to believe for a peak that you can't see. Do you need an extra $1,000 a month? Do you need $2,000 a month? Do you need $3,000 a month? Whatever it is, we got a producer on this team that's making what it is that you need to make to get that monkey off your back. Lock into what they've done. Lock into their work ethic. Get some leads and get to work. Create some momentum for you. Put some money into your pocket. Ease that burden. Get to the point where your bills are paid and you could start a savings account. Get to the point where you know that when you go through a streak like Doug Wright did a couple of weeks ago where he went 0 for 12. Doug had 35 appointments that week. So his 0 for 12 streak was like 2 days, 2.5 days. Most people, that would be like 3 weeks. Doug condensed his 0 for 12 in the middle of a week Still did over 6,000, almost 7,000 that week. But we all have those things. We all have those weeks. Get good enough at this thing that you know that when you go through a streak like that, it's not you. It's the numbers. Get good enough so you can put money in your pocket. Climb up that leaderboard and position yourself for SOND. You go into SOND when people are home, vacations are done, fall's in the air, holidays around the corner. You're going to find more people at home. They're more charitable. They're looking to protect. They're looking to thinking about family, and they start to realize that they've been putting something off. And you're going to do a tremendous amount of business. Get through your learning curve now. Get a higher comp now. Make SOND an amazing time for you. And you know what? Just like I told those guys when I first got started, hey, show me your bank account. You know how many people you're going to hire by showing them your bank account? Showing them the deposits that you've made? Man, you don't need a monster account or a career builder account. You need a checking account that tells a really good story. You know, I heard somebody say one time, it was a mentor, me and John, somebody asked him, what book did you read that made a difference? And he said, check. Checkbook. And when it didn't have the balance in there that I wanted, I knew that I either had to pony up and get the job done, or I had to go belly up and quit. And I chose to pony up and get the job done. If that book doesn't have the ending that you like, good news. You get to rewrite the ending of that book. Go out and make August and July a next amazing 6 weeks for you. So you go into SOND with some momentum and you start to attract people to you, and you're gonna be regional manager. You're going to be getting equity bonus this time next year if you do these things and take advantage of the ecosystem, the Cornerstone Group, and the opportunity here in front of you.
Man, Ali, appreciate your time today, man. I thought it's been some incredible information from you. And here's what I heard. You're good enough regardless of how you feel and think. Go do the activity regardless of what you believe, and know that you can make it happen, because look, you're going to have to pay the pain of the price of pain, or the price of discipline, or the price of regret, right? The price of discipline for doing the work now, or the price of regret later for wishing you did it. We've got this rare time here that Equus has given us to incentivize us to go work harder for our families, to go create this incredible ending to the book that we want. And I love that, man. The best book there is your checkbook, right? What does that look like? Because at the end of the day, money is like oxygen. And the less you have, the less good you can do, and the less people you can help, and the less of a blessing you can be. Go out there and be a blessing. Be a blessing to our clients. Be a blessing to your family. And just know that you've got what it takes to have the success that Ollie's had. Cornerstone, have an incredible week. Get out there and fight for what you want. Fight for what you believe in. Fight for the dream that you want for you and your family, because you're good enough. And just like myself, I've always been my own biggest obstacle through these last 10 years. Don't do that. Go on Ollie's thought process, not on yours, and go out there and make your dreams become a reality. Thank you, Cornerstone. Have a great day, and we'll see you later.